Hello and welcome to episode 92 of the Wine Educate podcast. I am your host, Joanne Close, and I think it's just about the new year. The holidays have happened. I don't know about you, but I certainly enjoyed myself this holiday season, had a lot of fun, and drank a lot of sparkling wine. We are starting our sparkling wine series, and it is a big one. So I wanted to give you a bit of an overview of how we're going to be doing this series, what's going to be covered, who it's for, and how you can utilize it in your studies. So starting off, I'm mainly going to be covering level 2 material. This series is not meant as a replacement for taking the WSET class. It is meant as more of a supplement to help you flesh out some of the topics and give it a bit of context as well. I'll be touching upon some level 3 material where I feel it's relevant, but I'm saving the level 3 concepts for my new level 3 membership, which is going to be launched in February. So we can go much deeper into this material. I can do Q&A sessions. We can answer essay questions together. So how do sparkling wine questions show up in your exams? For level 1 and level 2, they show up right away. Level 1, we talk about sparkling wines quite a bit. We introduce champagne, also Prosecco and Cava, and sparkling wines as a style. We also talk about how to open up a bottle of sparkling wine. This theme, this service theme, it just keeps showing up. I've seen the same multiple choice essay question in a level 1 exam and in a level 3 exam. How to open up that bottle of sparkling wine. For level 2, certainly in session 8, we cover fortified and sparkling. Also, the wine service component is important. Definitely shows up in those multiple choice questions. How does sparkling wine show up in level 3? Okay, so we have our tasting component. Don't worry, don't fret, because you will not get a sparkling wine as one of your wines to taste for the tasting component. We do taste the sparkling wine in class during that session, but you will not be tested on one. Where it really is going to show up, though, is in the theory. So our theory is broken up into the multiple choice and the essays, right? So you're definitely going to get some multiple choice questions on sparkling. For the short essays, remember your specification, really important that you go over that and know how you're going to be tested on the material, because one of those essay questions is going to be sparkling and or fortified. So you're definitely going to have a question that focuses on those topics, which is a big deal, considering you need 55 marks to pass that theory section. Also, and folks do forget sometimes, that Learning Outcomes 6 is 10 marks on this exam, and that is the service element, talking about wine to customers section. Okay, sparkling wine and our SAT. Well, it doesn't show up in level 1 or 2, but it does show up in level 3 with the tasting term Mousse. And you all get very excited about this, like, Joanne, Mousse, it's on our card. What does it mean? Unfortunately, because we only do sparkling wine in one session, we don't get to talk about it too much. But Mousse describes the bubble texture on the palate. And there's 3 levels of it. We have delicate, creamy, and aggressive. You love to say, what about aggressive mousse? And then the class laughs. So yes, the aggressive mousse joke is a fun one. So you use it in your level 3 SAT, but you're not assessed on it. So we do talk about it a bit in class. This is also the class session where none of you spit out your wines. And I'm not really mad at you because, we're drinking nice sparkling wines. So what is a definition of a sparkling wine? I go to my Oxford Companion for this definition. Wine which bubbles when poured into a glass. The bubbles form because a certain amount of carbon dioxide has been held under pressure, dissolved in the wine until the bottle is unstoppered, meaning you're taking the cork out. I love that definition. Sparkling wine and the grapes that could be used for sparkling wine. Many different grapes are used. An important characteristic is the acidity. Grapes with naturally high acidity tend to make better styles of sparkling wine because you really want that freshness, that acidity in the resulting style of wine itself. Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. These two grapes are two of our grapes used in champagne, right? They're used because they're high in acidity and they make really good sparkling wine and therefore have been copied in other regions and are used as the main grapes in sparkling wine styles, sometimes blended with other local grapes that are grown. Different regions use their grapes to make sparkling wines. So the Loire Valley, think of Vouvray and Chenin Blanc. That's the hero grape there, used to make some extraordinary sparkling wines. Shiraz in Australia, they make a red sparkling from Shiraz. Okay, why not? That's their grape. Sparkling wine methods. There are many different ways to capture that CO2 in the wine. We are going to go into all of these in great detail in later podcast episodes, but I want you to know that the different ways they use to capture these bubbles has a direct correlation with the style, quality, and the mousse texture, the feel of the bubbles in the mouth. In some instances in the EU, it's written into the law, the required method to make the sparkling wine. In other areas outside the EU, they can choose. But a big consideration is price. The traditional fermentation method is expensive, and there's been many other creative ways to make sparkling wines that make it more affordable. I'm just going to list them here, the sparkling wine production methods, and I am going to go into them in greater detail. We have traditional method, transfer method, the ancestral method, otherwise known as Petillant Naturel or Pet Nat, right? Pet Nat, tank method, Asti method, and the good old carbonation. Just chuck it in there, right? Carbonation method. All of these different methods produce different styles. You can also have white, rosé, or red sparkling wine. I've certainly tried my fair share of red bubbles. Different sweetness levels. We can have dry, sometimes really dry, to sweet and everything in between. The alcohol level for sparkling wines is usually around 12.5. You don't want to let it creep higher than that because then it's going to lose some of that freshness, that nice quality that we enjoy. But the alcohol percentage can be lower than that as well. We have many different levels of mousse or fizz from these resulting styles. Sparkling wine is important and it is growing as a category. I always say that we live in exciting times in wine, and we certainly do because we get access to some of these interesting sparkling wines. The overall global consumption of sparkling wine has increased by 57% since the year 2002, and it's steadily on the uptick. Next week, in episode 93, we're talking about the traditional method. This is a big topic, really important for your wine studies, and also just pure magic of how these wines are made. I highly encourage you to sign up for our weekly newsletter, which will be following along with this series, giving you quizzes, so multiple choice questions, and essay questions for each topic. Really useful for your studies. So you can go to wineeducate.com and see the green newsletter sign up button, or the link is in the show notes. Okay, well, we're in it now. So sparkling wine series, and we're going to do this well into February. So look forward to seeing you next week.